What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Buckeye-Film-Breakdown. As always, I'm Jeremy. Middle of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Far side, we got Jake joining us tonight. We wanted to hop on here and talk about some names that have popped up on the Ohio State offensive coordinator radar. I want to get these guys' thoughts because a couple of them definitely have major NFL ties. Interviews are supposed to start this week for that position. Obviously, Ryan Day likes to keep things close to the vest, but there are some pretty in-tune people in the Twitterverse who have thrown three names out there. Greg Roman, Jonathan Smith, Matt Nagy. Those are the three we kind of want to focus on tonight. I know which one Slate is very partial to, so we'll start there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm partial to, but I get why he fits. He just fits the mold, and that's Jonathan Smith. Um, I just got a lot of respect for him, man. I like guys who grind and get to where they were in their career, where they are in their career. And I know people will automatically remember, what he did at Michigan State. Everybody knows he inherited a mess, that Mel Tucker left him. So he was kind of up against it. But when you look back at his career, under Coach Peterson at Boise State, Coach Peterson takes the Washington job. He's now the offensive coordinator at Washington. He's got Jake Browning. He's got Dante Pettis. He's got Myles Gaskin. He's got John Ross. Everybody knows John Ross, what a bust he was in the NFL. But at Washington, he was an absolute stud. He's got this great group of NFL talent, and he maximizes that talent at Washington and does a really good job in the 3 or 4 years he was there as an offensive coordinator. And then he parlays that into being the head coach at Oregon State, his alma mater. And then he wins 10 games in 2022 in Corvallis. Like, that's not an easy place to win games at. You know what I mean? He starts at a rocky, win-loss record in his first 3 years. And then he goes 7-6, 10-2, 8-4. And then he turns that into a Power 4 job or a Big Ten job. Like, that is the track record that Coach Day is looking for, on top of him running a pro-style offense, on top of him being a quarterback coach and knowing how to develop a quarterback. And I think there are some similarities in Jake Browning's game, and I think there's some similarities to his game and Julian Sayin. And so I don't think that's too far-fetched. I know it's not a flashy name. People will be like, oh, Jonathan Smith, oh, he's trash, he sucks. But I'm like, no, this guy actually knows what the heck he's doing. And I don't think he's going to go jump at an NFL job or a head coaching job right away. And I think he might be around for a while. So when I saw that name, I was like, man, like, this is something that would be very intriguing and wasn't a name that I was thinking of.
Yeah, I like it. Always been a college guy, which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, we've seen Ryan Day start to become somewhat cited toward NFL guys for these coordinator jobs, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have a college guy. Obviously, we don't want to dive too far scheme-wise because we will dive into that with whoever gets the job. Just real quick, what does Jonathan Smith do scheme-wise? What's he like to do?
Big zone guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, just like back to those Oregon State days. It's funny because Oregon State, I remember him as the quarterback of that Fiesta Bowl team with Steven Jackson. We're getting to the age now where we're like remembering some of these guys as players. But yeah, I kind of thought it was interesting he left. I kind of thought he'd be out there a long time.
Yeah. Me too.
I think you obviously have maybe bigger aspirations as a head coach, get out from underneath the Oregon machine. I understand why he would leave. Maybe there's ultimately a return there because they were finding some success. But yeah, he's known. And again, these guys can be adaptable. I don't think he's limited to the scope, but a lot of what you see in the NFL, more you'll get under center or in pistol, run wide zone. He'll bootleg off of it. He'll try to create angles and space based off of those concepts that are the principle. He'll run tight zone too, but it doesn't have like, I think the way you got to think about college structure right now is a lot of these teams are like, are you running RPOs or are you not? And he's traditionally not been that type of guy. He's traditionally been, again, wide zone base, West Coast staples off of it and kind of go from there. And I think that, to me, of the other two names mentioned, is a more seamless fit for what they have personnel wise. And I think the areas of the field they'd like to run the football in more effectively next year, and then obviously, what they can do in the downfield passing game off of creating explosive opportunities. So I certainly, of those three, that one feels like the most realistic to me. And I know that obviously there will probably be more names that come out about this, but those that's the one that I like. But I don't know, Slate, maybe you have something to add to that.
No, I mean, that was spot on to what I was going to say. I think it is a very seamless fit to obviously what Coach Day does. I do think Coach Day is enamored with wide zone, outside zone, almost to a fault at times. I do think that he can bring a lot of different ideas from a fresh perspective too of that same type of scheme. Like Coach Day was a Coach Kelly disciple. And so they were speaking the same language. You're bringing somebody in now, if it is Jonathan Smith, that runs a similar scheme, but it's not speaking the same language. And so
Yeah.
you're looking at it from a different lens of somebody that could bring a fresh perspective to the same type or style of offense. And so I look at it from that lens as well. And so I think there could be a lot of good things here. That could be a good fit. Now, I think also this is a guy that you could trust saying, hey, you are the head coach of the offense, right? The other guy on the Greg Roman, I don't know if Coach Day is going to feel that way about that because of, Greg Roman may be a wizard in the run game. I don't know how he would feel about him in the pass game. You know what I mean? And so there's just some limitations, I think, with a couple other guys that have been mentioned. So, but I think with Coach Smith, I think that could be something that's good. And so that's just kind of where my head is with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg Roman, if you track Greg Roman's success, it's been with, running quarterbacks. I mean, he's been a creator of opportunities at the NFL level, dating back to Kaepernick and Harbaugh's first run in the 49ers, of creating, modern triple option concepts that work at the NFL level. I don't see a fit there. I just don't know, unless there's something bigger at play behind the scenes. His biggest issues in two places he's now been fired from have been developing downfield passing concepts that stress the back half of defenses. And that's not to say he can't find things that work at the college level. It's not to say he can't think of things in a different scope. But is that a guy who, that to me is more of like bringing in an analyst to bolster the structure of what you have, not to take over, run it, call it. So that's where I'm like, Greg Roman doesn't feel like a great fit to me in that perspective. Unless, again, you got some idea of maybe playing some, is Tavian going to play a little bit like that? That world would be very interesting to get into as a full-on offensive coordinator. I think, again, having somebody like an advisor, whatever, an offensive assistant or whatever role that looks like, that can make some sense. But I heard Jonathan Smith, and made me sit up a little bit because found a ton of success in the run game out there, man. And he gets a little bit of that fly sweep movement stuff going in his offense. Just some different ways to think about some stress to put on defenses that I don't think Ohio State has done enough variation of, to be honest. So that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Greg Roman one is very interesting because for everything you guys said, he has a little bit of college time, but he's predominantly an NFL guy. So again, he kind of checks that box. But like Slate said earlier when we were talking about this off air, if it's Greg Roman, it makes you feel like it's not truly that head coach of the offense scenario. It makes you feel like Ryan Day is either going to have his hands more involved because of the passing game, or like Jake said, B, there's something else more at play here. Is there somebody else coming in a passing game coordinator role? Are you going a coach OC title with like Coach Key or something like that?
Yeah, and I think there are guys on the staff that you could definitely do that with. I think Coach Fessler is a rising star in the coaching profession. I think that is somebody that Coach Day respects mightily. I think that is somebody that could be that passing game coordinator. I think Coach Key is another one. And so that could very well be something that they look at doing. And so I could see that being something that Coach Day is really taking a look at. I do think they have two guys on the offensive staff that could definitely be that pass game coordinator.
Yeah. It's an element that they could get into. The Matt Nagy is interesting. I mean, he's definitely among the finalists for the head coaching job in Tennessee. So I don't know how willing he is, and I know we talked to Dable a little bit too in previous episodes, and there's a little bit of like, is Buffalo wanting to bring him back because of how well he developed Josh? Those are to be determined a little bit. Interesting to me. Obviously, Matt Nagy has been around, one of the great thinkers about offense football for decades, and Andy Reid. You're always interested in the funkiness that they have brought to the football world and their willingness to get creative. I would not be against Matt Nagy at all. I just think the NFL's not done with him yet. So I know that KC has brought back Bieniemy and have moved on. So he's going to look to land somewhere. There are 10 jobs that have come open that have not officially hired offensive coordinators. Some of them head coaches at the NFL level have been hired, but there's a lot of offensive coordinator rules there. So maybe there's still something more from there, or he gets a job still. But that one, from a schematic standpoint, would be outside the box, but I could see the vision for going outside the box there, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, and I think another name that's been brought up too has been Press Taylor, the pass game coordinator for the Chicago Bears. That's another one that I think, obviously there are Coach Day ties. I think they were in Philadelphia together. That is something that, naturally I do see a fit, because there is similarities in what they like to do, and there's a connection to where they were under Coach Kelly. But I'd still like, if you bring in somebody like that, are you going to let them be the head coach of the offense? I don't see that happening. Like, if this is a guy who's not, calling his own plays in the NFL, are you going to let him run the show at Ohio State? Are you going to let him fully be the head coach of the offense without your imprint on everything still? I don't see that. And so I don't know about that one, but that is another name that's going to continue to be brought up until, he lands a full-time OC job in the NFL.
Press Taylor's interesting for sure, because like, you look back at when he was in Jacksonville, he was calling plays, but that offense regressed while he was there.
Yeah. So that one is always going to be brought up. It was brought up last cycle. It's just going to continue to be brought up, but I don't foresee that one happening. But you never know. I think you never know. I think the NFL ties, I wish we would stop. I wish we would just kind of get away from that, and just like, whoever we get is who we get,
I wonder if JT Barrett is like what his aspirations are and the speed at which that goes, because I don't know how fast the NFL gives him that opportunity. He's in a great place. He's working with a great coach in Ben Johnson. He's going to continue to be a part of that. And obviously Caleb Williams' ascension in year 2, he's tied to that. There's a lot of things working in his favor, but how quickly does that happen? And would he be interested in return? I mean, you're talking about one of the great leaders in the history of Ohio State football. As far as like, if this young man could come in and run your offense, like what, that's an interesting one. You're looking at upside swings. JT's an upside swing, young.
Absolutely.
Obviously, but around really sharp thinkers at the NFL level. And really, if you want to be tied to Ben Johnson, that's a place you want to be. He's been around a ton of winning at the NFL level. Chandler Whitmer, we haven't talked about him. Co-OC and former Ohio State GA at Indiana. Very interesting. He's probably, I don't know, maybe Shanahan, their current guy. I think it's Mike Shanahan, right? No relation to the family.
No relation at all.
Is doing a great job.
Yeah.
And is the OC there? Is Whitmer interested in trying to take? Is there an interest in trying to pull from Indiana? Try to take their pass game coordinator out of the picture. He works with their quarterbacks. Obviously, we've seen 2 pretty good seasons of quarterback play there. I'm tilting my head a little bit. That's a name that we haven't talked much about. He would be interesting to me, no doubt. So I don't know. I mean, and I guess is Todd Monken completely done with doing the college level stuff if he doesn't get the right opportunity? If he, the Giants fill a different OC, if there's another pathway pursued there, he did a nice job for Georgia, as we saw firsthand. those are three very. I think there's those are interesting candidates. The young upside swings, especially Whitmer kind of being an Ohio State GA, been around the program before. We know what JT is, and it would be just a really cool story, wouldn't it? To have him back doing that, and then it's just the Jonathan Smith thing from an experience level is fun too. So they got good options.
I mean, you're pretty tied into the NFL stuff. I mean, Monken's name is being thrown around for stuff, and everybody assumes he's going with Harbaugh. I mean, does what you're hearing go that way?
He's back in Cleveland this week for a second interview. They seem to be the only team giving him serious interview run. I don't think he's getting a head coaching job. He's interviewed around for OC jobs. Tampa, I think he interviewed in Detroit too, but they have since hired an OC. I think he would prefer to stay at the NFL level, but if something doesn't materialize, there's always the opportunity for him. Given the success we saw with him at Georgia, I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's probably unlikely. I do think he ultimately ends up joining John in New York, but it's possible. It's possible. I mean, the NFL guys are tough to predict. They really are tough to
True that.
How interested some of them are in the college world. Are they going to go get a job at the college world that doesn't make them recruit? That's some of the element that's tied into it too. So it's tough. I would personally like to see them take a swing at a younger guy who's got some chance to have longevity here. Yes. And that's where I'm drawn to more than trying to 1 year Band-Aid this thing. And I know that even Saban has said that cycle at the end of his career of guys coming and going, running the offense was a challenge to navigate at times. So that is a world that it would be really nice to see them find that, you know what I mean? If they can.
Well, and that was what I was literally getting ready to ask you. And obviously we know Jake covers the Buckeye-Film-Breakdown. One of the things that I know you're an advocate for, I know many people in Brown's world are starting to become an advocate for, is the young guy, 30-year-old Coach Udinski. People talking about taking swings on these young guys, trying to catch lightning in a bottle, the next Sean McVay, right? How do we catch that next guy? I am of that same mindset of, with these offensive coordinators, I've seen every program take a swing on a young guy and find some success, and then they either take a head coaching job a few years later, or they just end up going somewhere else. When you have a guy like JT Barrett, who is gradually just ascending, right, with one of the best coaches in the NFL right now, who is going to be such a great reference, how do you not look at that and say, I could bring him in right now and let him learn and grow and do this thing with my guidance, because I still am the head coach. I still want to be involved in the offense. And this is a guy that's going to be here for a long time. We could be developing this guy to be the next guy. You know what I mean? This is something that it would be hard for me to overlook something like that. And so how do you how do you navigate that? Would it be a bad thing to take a swing on a young guy? What is the worst thing that's going to happen? You're still Ryan Day. You're still one of the best offensive coaches in the country.
Yeah. The upside swing of again, if you saw JT Barrett come in and do what he did as a leader for your program as a player, it's hard to imagine those same traits aren't there as a coach. And like we said, it's not like he's gone to, I don't know, again, if he was with the Browns, that sucks to say, but that's a realistic thing to say, where he's been around teams that struggle. No, he's with the Lions as an assistant coach. He was around real smart, again, totally different ends of the spectrum of terms of how Campbell approaches coaching, what he got out of his guys as a motivator. He got to sit and talk and learn from really Hank Fraley, their O-line coach, is really good. Learn from them, game plan with them. Obviously what Ben Johnson did is a skill coordinator for them, and then getting his own coaching job. And Ben Johnson's got to get Caleb Williams, this first round pick, who had a really uneven rookie season. We got to get the most out of him. And who does he trust to coach him? Trust JT to coach him. So I don't know what JT's aspirations are. Maybe he's I don't want anything to do with College World for a while. He's not quite there yet. But if he is interested in it, I don't know how you could like not want to be around it, because again, the experience he gained and the way he was around the smart thinkers, and even like his quarterback coach with the, I don't know if you guys know this, but do you know who the quarterback coach was with the Lions? Is still there. It's freaking Mark Brunell. Like he's like,
geez.
around a bunch of really smart football people. And it's like, you know, if you got this thinking maybe Ryan goes someday into the NFL or what, like just having your defense be led by Laurinaitis and having your offense maybe be led by JT Barrett. That's like, I know that's some like straight up homerism love for Ohio State, like nirvana there, but they're good coaches clearly. So why not invest in trying to keep, you know, the brotherhood alive of the university, and obviously also they might be really good at this. So I'm with it. I think it makes plenty of sense. You know, we don't have any track record of JT calling plays. Did we have any track record of Heartline calling plays?
No.
Right.
I mean, this is where Ryan Day would need to continue to develop his coaches. I mean, I think you can do it. I think you can.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Urban Meyer once said JT Barrett's going to be the best coach he's ever known, or something to that effect. I forget the verbatim of it, but like JT Barrett's football mind is insane. You know, just listening to the kid talk, like you said, he's a leader. And like I've said, you know, I've gone on the record. I think I've talked myself into it, especially because of what you're seeing in the NFL with the push to take these swings at these young guys. You know, what better time to take a swing than on a guy who's homegrown in a way? But do you trust Jeremiah Smith's last season to a first-time play caller? That's the big
it's question. A great point. Yeah, it's a great point.
It's all very fair, but it's also the longevity of the program, man. You got to think beyond the scope of one season. You got to think big. And I just think that like you're not hiring somebody that's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like JT's had real success at the NFL level. There's not a nothing burger there to pull back on. And again, James has a little more of that, right? Like again, Laurinaitis hadn't had that experience, and I'm just kind of giving you a cross comparison, other side of the ball. Not that you were asking James come over and be the DC right away. I'm just kind of giving a cross comparison to where this is, where he's at, what he's done. He's clearly accomplishing some things. So, I mean, I don't know. I'd love to get some information on who they're actually interviewing when those things are coming this week or whatever. But it's going to be quite fascinating to see. But even if it's not him, even if it's Whitmer, somebody different, just like I just would like them to go take a risk, man. Go out and try to find somebody different than retreads and all of that at times. I think you could benefit from it. And like I think younger coaches are coming into this smarter than ever. They've been around high level thinking in their playing days. I think the game of football, and I'm sure Slate and Jeremy, you guys would agree with me on this. You can check me if I'm wrong, but I think the scope of football schematics and understanding as the world of like huddle film change, like you can read more things online than ever. You can self-educate in ways you couldn't self-educate 20 years ago about the game. You can watch a video. I can sit at my computer now on YouTube and pull up a Nick Saban tutorial on how to run stubby coverage and like learn it, like really learn it. Like you couldn't do that 20 years ago. So football coaches, I think at younger ages are accelerating in ways that we're not comfortable with. And I think this is a thing the Browns are facing and the NFL world is facing with this like Grant Udinsky that you were talking about is a 30-year-old guy, but he clearly seems to have all the traits that matter to be a good head coach, but he's just like 30. God, that's young. And I get it. But I think these guys are coming in smarter from their playing days, smarter from what they can learn, and smarter to the information you have access to in the coaching world to be self-taught on a lot of things if you're driven and motivated to do it. So that's the space I'm in with like, JT Barrett, what is JT now? Is he 28, 29? I don't even know how old JT is anymore. He's going to be young, but ultimately, like, I think JT knows enough about ball now, man, to be able to handle something like that with obviously Ryan's arm around his shoulder and guiding him and working hand in hand on this thing. I just think the upside swing of that is like getting in on early on JT Barrett before, like, imagine you're thinking like, hey, JT's talented. He's really good at this. We know he's going to be good. Ben Johnson loves him. Come be our OC, get your real chance instead of in 2 years trying to get him. And he's already ingrained and is the OC of the Bears and is going to be a real NFL candidate. High State should be eager to try to get that done, I would think, but we'll see.
He's 30. He is 30. Yeah. So speaking of that, if you go JT, for example, that's the kind of dude I want on the road recruiting, though, given his personality, his demeanor, his traits. So that means you're looking at another domino falling because you are currently at your 10 coaches to recruit. You know, obviously Ryan Day has shown a propensity for shaking up the staff when he needs to. Given the way the season ended, is there another domino that falls if you go that way?
I think there might be a domino falling anyway. That's just me. I don't know anything, but I think there might be some changes coming to the staff, regardless. Just based on, I think they're giving certain coaches some time to figure some things out. But I do think there may be a change coming to the staff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you navigate that because I know there is a lot of love for Coach Fessler. I don't see Coach Day ever moving on from him. Obviously, Coach Key, Coach Locke, those guys on the offensive staff, it would be extremely tough to hire a young guy on that offensive staff. And so that's what makes it hard bringing in one of these young guys. That's why I do think it will be a more experienced coach. Although I would like to have a younger coach who's going to bring that juice, bring that energy, bring something new and innovative to that offensive side. I do think it's going to be an experienced coach because I know he does like those offensive guys. I do know that for a fact, and so I do think it will be. I do think it will be somebody who does have a lot of experience. But I personally think there is a domino that's going to fall on the staff. I do think there will be a change that will happen. This is a hunch that I have. I don't have any inside information, but I do think there will be a change coming to the staff. But it's
They
just
got to
going to
get
be up to that
serious,
coach.
dude. They
Yeah,
got
I
to go
know.
to Indiana next year. They're reloading. Signetti's good.
Yeah.
You can't. The Indiana's this conference is really good. You
Next
can't
year's
rest
schedule
anymore.
sucks.
It's not a cakewalk in the way it at times was in the last 15 years in terms of putting yourself in. We know what Michigan's turned into. I expect with Whittingham they'll be back better, well coached,
Yep.
disciplined. You got Oregon, you got, they continue to they're gonna have Dante Moore back. They're the favorite. I mean, come on, man. Like, they're gonna be extremely good, and you got to go to Bloomington next year, which just is not, as Indiana has shown they'll do 2 years in a row. They're reloading, and I like the Hoover kid can play at quarterback. They're gonna be good again, man. They're gonna be good. So can't rest, brother. Can't rest.
Nope.
Gotta get better.
If said domino falls, because reading between the lines, it's pretty apparent the domino. There's an old domino who's going to not have a job that was in Arizona last year, who a lot of folks kind of crapped on. But when you look at the development of the position group at the end of the year of last year versus this year, do you go back there?
I don't think he would come back. The NFL schedule is way too nice. So I think he would I think he would do whatever he could to find another NFL job.
Yeah, I mean, it's just always interesting to see. Obviously you want to have things done before spring ball. You don't want to run into a Tony Alford situation where, hey, spring ball's here, I'm going to Michigan. Obviously the recruiting strategy, as we've talked about, is changing. So I don't know that position coaches are going to be as vital to that anymore as a head coach will be, because you're going to be focusing on a smaller group of high school kids from here on out, it seems. It's definitely going to be interesting to monitor, though. We will keep you guys abreast of all things coaching search. The portal is closed for entry aside from Indiana and Miami, but there's still, I saw somebody said it today. This is kind of the Black Friday version now, because you are out looking for bargains. And you're going to find some bargains. You're going to find some depth pieces, some guys who may be able to get some academic money to offset some athletic money, that type of thing. But we'll keep you guys tuned into everything. Tap into Buckeye-Film-Breakdown.com. Find the subscription method that works for you. Jump in our chat. We love having those conversations with you guys. All right. We will see you guys later.